The boardroom felt like a courtroom, and Adrian Blake was on trial. Outside, the blizzard screamed warnings no one wanted to hear. Inside, Victoria Kane sat at the head of the table, ice in her voice, control in every breath. Adrian's phone vibrated for the third time. His daughter, stranded, alone. The daycare had no power, no heat. He looked at Victoria, the woman who could end this meeting with a single word, and saw nothing but cold ambition staring back. The choice was simple, brutal, impossible, his job or his child. And Victoria Kane wasn't the kind of woman who bent for anyone. If you want to see how a single storm can break down walls that power built, stay with me until the end. Hit that like button and drop a comment with your city so I can see how far this story travels. The conference room on the 47th floor had floor-to-ceiling windows that should have offered a view of the city below. Tonight, they showed nothing but white chaos. Snow drove sideways against the glass, wind howling like something wounded and furious. The blizzard had swallowed Boston whole 2 hours ago, and it wasn't letting go. Adrian Blake sat 3 seats down from the head of the table, watching his phone screen light up silently for the third time in 10 minutes. Emma, the daycare. He didn't need to answer to know what they were calling about. The power grid was failing across the city. Roads were shutting down, shelters opening. He'd seen the alerts, everyone in this room had, but Victoria Kane hadn't moved. She stood at the presentation screen, a remote in one hand, her other hand resting on the table edge like she was holding the whole building steady through force of will alone. 30 years old and already running one of the most feared private equity firms on the East Coast. Dark hair pulled back tight, suit that probably cost more than Adrian's monthly rent, eyes that didn't blink when she fired people. The acquisition timeline is non-negotiable, Victoria said. Her voice cut through the room like a scalpel. Baxter Industries has until Friday to accept our terms. If they don't, we move to hostile. Questions? Silence. The kind that meant everyone had questions, but no one wanted to be the person who asked. Adrian's phone buzzed again. He flipped it face down against his thigh, but not before catching the preview. Emma's still here. Road's bad. Please advise. His stomach dropped. Blake. He looked up. Victoria was staring directly at him, expression unreadable. You have something more important than this meeting? 6 faces turned toward him. Jason from acquisitions, Linda from legal, 2 analysts whose names Adrian barely knew. Richard Moss, the COO, who'd hired Adrian 6 months ago and told him this job could change his life. No, Adrian said. His voice came out steadier than he felt. Sorry. Victoria held his gaze for 3 long seconds. Then she turned back to the screen. Good. Because the next 6 hours determine whether this firm maintains its position or becomes irrelevant. And I don't employ irrelevant people. She clicked to the next slide. Financial projections, debt restructuring, words that should have mattered. All Adrian could think about was Emma's face that morning when he dropped her off. She'd been wearing her purple jacket, the one with the star buttons, and she'd made him promise. Promise you'll pick me up on time, Daddy. Mrs. Chen says there's a big storm coming. He'd promised. He always promised. His phone lit up again. He watched the glow against his palm, didn't turn it over. Outside, the wind hit the building hard enough that someone gasped. The lights flickered, held, flickered again. If the power goes, Linda started. It won't, Victoria said. This building has 3 backup generators. We're not going anywhere. Adrian felt something cold settle in his chest. He glanced toward the windows, tried to gauge how bad it had gotten. Couldn't see anything but white. The weather service had called it a historic storm, possibly the worst in 20 years. The mayor had issued a travel ban an hour ago. An hour ago, Adrian could have left, could have made it to the daycare before the roads became impassable. Now? His phone buzzed. He couldn't ignore it this time. He shifted in his seat, angled the screen just enough to read. Power out. Generator running but limited fuel. Attempting to contact all parents. Emma asking for you. His hand tightened around the phone. Emma was 7. She was brave for 7, braver than she should have had to be. But she was still 7, and she was alone in a building with failing power in the middle of a blizzard that was burying the city. Blake. He looked up. Victoria had stopped mid-sentence, remote lowered. Everyone was staring at him again. Do we have a problem? She asked. Yes. Yes, they had a massive problem. His daughter was stranded, the storm was getting worse by the minute, and this meeting, this acquisition that Victoria Kane thought was more important than human lives, didn't mean a damn thing compared to Emma's face when she realized he wasn't coming. "I need to leave," Adrian said. The room went silent. The kind of silence that made you hear the building creak, the storm scratching at the windows, your own heartbeat. Victoria set the remote down slowly. "Excuse me?" "My daughter." Adrian stood. His chair scraped against the floor. "She's at a daycare in Brookline. The power's out. They're running on a backup generator. I need to go get her." "Sit down." It wasn't a request. Adrian stayed standing. "The roads are shutting down. If I don't leave now—" "If you leave now," Victoria said, her voice dropping to something colder than the storm outside, "you're walking away from the most important meeting of your career. The deal we're structuring tonight determines the next 5 years of this company. It determines your future here." She paused. "Do you understand what I'm telling you?" He understood perfectly. Leave, and he was done. Not just tonight, forever. Richard cleared his throat. "Adrian, I'm sure the daycare has protocols. They're professionals. Your daughter is safe." "She's 7, Adrian said, "and she's scared." "She'll be fine for a few more hours," Victoria said. She picked up the remote again. "We'll be done by midnight. You can pick her up then." "The roads won't be passable by midnight." "Then you should have planned better." Something cracked in Adrian's chest. He looked at this woman, this billionaire who'd never had to choose between a paycheck and a child's fear, and felt the full weight of how different their worlds were. "Her mother died 2 years ago," he said quietly. The room stilled. "It was a car accident. Winter storm. She was driving home from work." Adrian kept his voice level, but barely. "Emma doesn't do well with storms. She doesn't do well with being alone. And right now she's both." Victoria's expression didn't change. "I'm sorry for your loss, but that doesn't change the reality of this situation. We have work to complete. You made a commitment to this firm. I made a commitment to my daughter first. Then you need to decide which commitment matters more." Adrian stared at her, tried to find something human in those cold eyes. Didn't. His phone buzzed again. He looked down. Temperature dropping. Emma very upset. "How soon can you be here?" He thought about Emma's small hand in his that morning, the way she'd looked up at him with complete trust. "Promise, Daddy." He'd promised. Adrian grabbed his coat from the back of his chair. "I'm leaving." "If you walk out that door," Victoria said, "don't come back." He stopped, turned, met her gaze across the length of the table. "Some things are worth more than a job," he said. He walked out. The elevator ride down felt like descending into his own funeral. 47 floors of knowing he'd just destroyed the best opportunity he'd had since Claire died. 6 months of proving himself. Gone. Richard had taken a chance on him. A single father with no Ivy League degree and a resume full of gaps where grief had lived. And Adrian had just thrown it away. But when he closed his eyes, all he saw was Emma. The lobby was chaos. People crowded near the windows, staring out at the storm. Security guards were turning people back from the exits, explaining that the travel ban was in effect, that it wasn't safe. Adrian pushed through to the parking garage. The cold hit him like a wall. The garage was underground, but the wind had found its way in somehow, howling through the concrete levels. His truck was on P3. He ran. The temperature had dropped at least 10 degrees since he'd arrived that morning. His breath came out in clouds. His fingers were already numb by the time he reached the truck. A 15-year-old Ford that burned oil and had a heater that only worked on the highest setting. He climbed in, turned the key. The engine coughed. Died. "Come on," Adrian muttered. He tried again. The starter whined. Caught. The engine rattled to life, rough but running. He threw it in reverse, pulled out. The garage exit ramp sloped up towards street level. He could see snow blowing past the opening, thick as fog. He pressed the gas. The truck climbed, emerged into the storm. It was worse than he'd thought. The wind hit the truck hard enough to rock it. Snow so thick he couldn't see 10 feet. The street was buried under at least 8 inches, drifts piling higher against buildings and cars. The few vehicles still out there were crawling, hazard lights blinking like distress signals. Adrian turned onto Boylston. The truck's headlights barely cut through the white. He could feel the wheels slipping, fighting for traction. The wipers were working overtime and still losing. His phone rang. He hit the speaker button. "Adrian?" Richard's voice, tight with stress. "What the hell are you doing?" "Getting my daughter." "You just committed career suicide. You know that, right?" "Yeah." Adrian squinted through the windshield, trying to find the lane markers under the snow. "I know. Victoria doesn't bluff. She'll blacklist you. You won't work in this industry again. Tell her I said thanks for the memories." A long pause. Then, "Is she really that scared?" Adrian's hands tightened on the wheel. "She watched her mother leave in a snowstorm and never come back. So yeah, Richard, she's that scared." Another pause. Longer. "Drive safe." The call ended. Adrian focused on the road, or what used to be the road. It was hard to tell anymore. The whole city had transformed into something alien and hostile. Streetlights made halos in the falling snow. Buildings were just dark shapes. The wind screamed. The truck skidded through an intersection. Adrian's heart jumped into his throat. He eased off the gas, felt the wheels grab again. Kept going. Brookline was 6 miles away. Might as well have been 60. Traffic lights were out, stop signs buried. He passed a bus stopped sideways across 2 lanes, abandoned. A taxi with its hood up, snow already covering it like a burial shroud. No one was out there helping. No one was out there at all. His phone buzzed. Another message from the daycare. He couldn't read it while driving, could barely keep the truck on the road as it was. But he could guess. Emma was asking for him. Emma was crying. Emma was scared and alone and wondering why Daddy wasn't there yet. "I'm coming, baby," he said to the empty truck. "I'm coming." The heater blasted hot air that smelled like burning dust. The defroster fought a losing battle against the ice forming on the inside of the windshield. Adrian drove with one hand, scraping frost with the other. 20 minutes to go, 3 miles. The truck slid around a corner. Adrian's stomach lurched. He countersteered, felt the back end fishtail, then straightened. His hands were shaking. From cold or adrenaline, he couldn't tell. He thought about Victoria Kane in her warm boardroom. Thought about her face when he told her about Claire. No sympathy, no understanding, just cold calculation. The woman had ice where normal people kept their hearts. His phone rang again. He glanced at the screen. Unknown number. He almost didn't answer. Then thought, what if it's the hospital? What if something happened to Emma? He hit the button. Hello? Static. Wind noise. Then, Adrian Blake? Not the daycare. Female voice, clipped and familiar. This is private security for Ms. Kane. We're calling to inform you that your building access has been revoked and your personal effects will be shipped to... Adrian ended the call. Of course. Victoria Kane didn't waste time. He was already erased. Probably had someone boxing up his desk before he'd even made it to the garage. Fine. Let her have her corporate empire. Let her have her power and her money and her goddamn acquisition timeline. None of it meant anything. Not really. Not when measured against the weight of a 7-year-old's trust. The truck groaned up a hill. The wheels spun, caught, spun again. For a horrible moment, Adrian thought he was going to slide backward. Then the tires bit into something. Asphalt, ice, concrete, who knew? And the truck lurched forward. He crested the hill, started down the other side too fast, touched the brakes. The truck skidded. He let off, steered into the slide, prayed. The truck straightened out at the bottom. Adrian's heart was hammering so hard it hurt. 4 more miles. He passed a fire truck, lights flashing, responding to something. Past a plow that was fighting a battle it couldn't win. The snow was falling faster than anyone could clear it. Adrian's phone buzzed. He risked a glance. Generator failing, attempting to preserve heat. Emma very distressed. ETA? His foot pressed harder on the gas. The truck's engine whined. Almost there, he muttered. Almost there. The daycare was in a converted house on a residential street. Old Victorian, painted yellow, with a playground in back that Emma loved. Adrian had chosen it because it was small, personal. Because Mrs. Chen, who ran it, had looked him in the eye the day he'd interviewed and said, I lost my husband young too, I understand. He turned onto the street. could barely make out the houses through the snow. Everything was buried. Mailboxes were just lumps. Fences had disappeared under drifts. There, the yellow house, barely visible, but there. Adrian pulled up to the curb, or what he thought was the curb. Hard to tell. He threw the truck in park, left it running, jumped out. The cold was vicious. Wind drove snow into his face hard enough to sting. He couldn't see 5 feet. He stumbled toward where the walkway should be, hoping he wouldn't fall into a buried hedge or drainage ditch. His foot hit something solid. Steps. He climbed them, reached for the door. It opened before he could knock. Mrs. Chen stood there, a blanket wrapped around her shoulders, her face drawn with relief. "Mr. Blake, thank God." Behind her in the dim glow of emergency lighting, Adrian could see shapes, children, parents who'd made it through. And then, "Daddy!" Emma launched herself at him, 7 years old, small for her age, wearing her purple jacket and boots, and the hat with the pom-pom that Claire had knitted before she got sick. Adrian caught her, held her tight, felt her shaking. "You came," she whispered against his chest. "You promised, and you came." "Always," he said. His voice cracked. "Always, baby." Mrs. Chen touched his arm. 3 other parents made it. Everyone else called, said the roads were too dangerous. I told them we'd keep the children safe overnight if needed. Adrian pulled back enough to look at Emma's face, tear-streaked, scared but trusting. She'd believed he would come. "Let's go home," he said. He bundled her up, thanked Mrs. Chen, and carried Emma back out into the storm. She buried her face in his neck. He held her with one arm, used the other to shield her from the wind. The truck was still running, small miracles. He got Emma into the passenger seat, buckled her in, cranked the heat up as high as it would go. "Are we going to be okay?" Emma asked. Her voice was so small. "Yeah, baby." Adrian pulled away from the curb, started the slow journey back toward their apartment in Cambridge. "We're going to be fine." It was a lie. The storm was getting worse. The roads were nearly impassable, and he'd just destroyed his career for a woman who wouldn't lose a second of sleep over it. But Emma was safe. She was with him, and that was the only thing that mattered. They'd made it 2 blocks when Adrian saw the car. Luxury sedan, black, expensive. Stopped in the middle of the street, hazard lights blinking. Hood up, steam rising into the snow. Adrian slowed, peered through the storm, saw a figure standing beside the car. Small, female. No coat he could see. "Daddy?" Emma said. "Is someone stuck?" Adrian should have kept driving, should have focused on getting Emma home, should have remembered that he had his own problems and couldn't afford to take on anyone else's. But he thought about Claire, about the night she died, about some stranger who maybe could have stopped, could have helped, but didn't. He pulled up alongside the sedan, rolled down his window. The woman turned. Snow had already accumulated on her shoulders, in her hair. She was shivering, and when Adrian saw her face, his stomach dropped. Victoria Kane stared at him through the storm, her expression somewhere between shock and fury, and something that might have been fear. For a long moment, neither of them spoke. The wind howled. Snow fell. The world held its breath. Then Victoria said, voice barely audible over the storm, "My car died." Adrian looked at her, this woman who'd threatened his job, who'd forced him to choose, who'd shown him nothing but ice. This woman who was now stranded and freezing and clearly terrified, though she'd die before admitting it. Emma leaned forward, looking past Adrian. "Is she okay?" "No." Victoria Kane was not okay. She was in a designer suit in a blizzard with no coat and no help coming. She was as vulnerable as Adrian had ever seen anyone. He should have driven away, should have let karma do its work, should have remembered that she'd nearly cost him his daughter. Instead, he unlocked the doors. "Get in." Victoria didn't move. "What?" "Get in the truck," Adrian said, "before you freeze to death." She hesitated. Pride warring with survival. Pride was going to lose. It always did when the temperature was dropping and help was scarce, but she clearly hated every second of it. Finally, Victoria moved. She climbed into the back seat, bringing a blast of cold air and snow with her. Adrian rolled up the window, put the truck in gear, started driving again. No one spoke. Emma watched Victoria in the rearview mirror with wide, curious eyes. Victoria sat rigid, arms wrapped around herself, shaking so hard her teeth chattered. Adrian focused on the road, on getting them all somewhere safe, on not thinking about what he'd just done or what it might mean. The storm drove against the windshield. The truck's engine rattled. And somewhere in the back seat, the most powerful woman in Boston sat in silence, her world reduced to the same size as everyone else's. 4 miles to Adrian's apartment. In good weather, 10 minutes. Tonight? Tonight they'd be lucky to make it at all. The silence in the truck was suffocating. Adrian kept his eyes on the road, or what he thought was the road. The world outside had become a white void punctuated by the occasional streetlight fighting through the snow. His wipers beat a rhythm that matched his pulse. Fast, unsteady. Emma broke first. "What's your name?" Adrian glanced in the rearview mirror. Victoria was still shaking, arms wrapped tight around herself. Her hair had come loose from its severe ponytail. Wet strands stuck to her face. She looked smaller than she had in the boardroom, breakable. "Victoria," she said after a pause. "I'm Emma. That's my daddy. I know who your father is." The words came out sharp, cold. Emma flinched. Adrian's hands tightened on the wheel. "She's 7. I wasn't—" Victoria stopped, drew a breath, started again, voice marginally softer. "I'm sorry. I'm not good with children." "You're not good with people," Adrian muttered. "What was that?" "Nothing." The truck hit a drift and lurched sideways. Adrian corrected, felt the back end slide, corrected again. His heart hammered. Emma grabbed the door handle. "It's okay," Adrian said quickly. "We're okay." They weren't okay. The storm had evolved into something biblical. Wind rocked the truck. Snow piled so thick on the windshield that the wipers could barely keep up. Visibility was maybe 3 feet. Maybe. "Where are we going?" Victoria asked. "My place, Cambridge." "That's at least 4 miles from here." "Yeah." "The roads won't be passable." "Probably not." "Then what's your plan?" Adrian wanted to laugh. Plan. Like he had options. Like any of them had options. "My plan is to drive until we can't drive anymore. Then we walk. Then we get inside somewhere warm and wait out the storm." "Walk? In this?" "You have a better idea?" Silence. Victoria didn't have a better idea. None of them did. Emma was watching the snow fall in thick sheets past her window. "Daddy, are we going to get stuck?" "No, baby." "You promise?" That word. Promise. It carried weight now. Emma knew what promises meant, knew that Daddy had promised to pick her up, and he had. Knew that Mommy had promised to come home and hadn't. "I promise we're going to be safe," Adrian said. It was the best he could offer. The truck crawled through an intersection. No lights, no signs visible, just white. Adrian was navigating by memory and prayer. He'd driven this route 1,000 times. He knew there was a bank on the left, a pharmacy on the right. He couldn't see either one. "How long have you worked for me?" Victoria asked suddenly. 6 months, but I don't work for you anymore. Remember? You walked out of the most important meeting of the quarter. My daughter was stranded in a blackout. You could have called someone, a neighbor, a friend, someone to pick her up. Adrian's jaw clenched. There is no one else. No family? No. The mother? Dead, like I said. Victoria went quiet. Adrian could feel her staring at the back of his head, calculating, analyzing, trying to fit him into whatever framework she used to understand people who weren't like her. "My mom's in heaven," Emma said matter-of-factly. "She got sick, and then she went away." Adrian's chest tightened. Emma's version of events was simplified, sanitized. The truth had been uglier. Claire fighting cancer for 18 months. Remission, relapse. The accident happening 2 weeks after her final chemo when she should have been recovering, when they should have had more time. "I'm sorry," Victoria said. She sounded like she meant it. Almost. "It was 2 years ago," Adrian said flatly. "We're fine now." Liar. They weren't fine. Emma still had nightmares, still asked when Mommy was coming home even though she knew the answer. Adrian still woke up reaching for someone who wasn't there. But you didn't say that to strangers. You especially didn't say it to women who'd just threatened your livelihood. The truck's engine made a sound that Adrian didn't like. A grinding whine. He eased off the gas, listened. It smoothed out. For now. How much farther? Victoria asked. 2 miles, maybe 3. Maybe? I can't see the street signs. You don't know where we are? I know approximately where we are, which is better than being stuck in a dead car in a parking garage. Victoria didn't respond to that. Good. Emma shifted in her seat. I'm cold. Adrian cranked the heat higher. The vents wheezed. Hot air that smelled like burning antifreeze blasted into the cabin. Not great, but better than nothing. Here, Victoria leaned forward, started to shrug out of her suit jacket. Keep it, Adrian said. Your daughter is cold. You're colder. I'm fine. You're shaking so hard I can hear your teeth from here. Keep the jacket. Another silence. Then Victoria sat back. She was still shaking, still soaked. Her white blouse was practically transparent now, and Adrian tried very hard not to notice that in the rear-view mirror. The truck shuddered. The wheel jerked left. Adrian fought it, got control back. His palms were sweating despite the cold. Daddy? Emma's voice was small, scared. We're okay, Em. Just some ice under the tires. Are we going to crash? No. How do you know? Because I won't let us. Because you're all I have left. Because I promised. Because I'm a good driver, he said instead. The truth was, he had no idea if they'd crash. The truck was 15 years old with bald tires and a heater held together by hope. The roads were invisible. The storm was getting worse. Odds were good they wouldn't make it to Cambridge. But Emma didn't need to know that. Tell me about your apartment, Victoria said. Adrian frowned. What? Your apartment. Describe it. Why? Because your daughter is scared and talking about something normal might help. Adrian glanced in the mirror. Victoria was watching Emma, not him. Her expression was unreadable. It's small, Adrian said slowly. 2 bedrooms, 3rd floor of an old building. The heat's loud, pipes knock. Emma's room has stars on the ceiling that glow in the dark. Mommy put them up, Emma added, before she got sick. The kitchen's tiny, Adrian continued. Fridge is older than me, but the windows face east so we get good light in the morning. Is there heat? Victoria asked. Radiators. They work most of the time. Most of the time. It's an old building. Sometimes the boiler acts up, but the landlord's good about fixing it. How reassuring. Adrian's grip tightened on the wheel. It's what I can afford. I wasn't... Victoria stopped. Never mind. The truck crept forward. Adrian was down to maybe 5 miles an hour. Any faster, and they'd slide. Any slower, and they'd stall. Emma pressed her face to the window. I can't see anything. That's okay. We don't need to see. We just need to keep moving. But what if we get lost? We won't get lost. How do you know? Because I know this city. I've lived here my whole life. It was true. Adrian had grown up in Dorchester, had gone to Boston College on a partial scholarship, had met Claire at a coffee shop in Back Bay where she was studying architecture and he was pretending to understand Kant for a philosophy class. They'd gotten married young. Too young, Claire's parents had said. But it had worked, for a while. Until it didn't. The truck hit something. A pothole, a curb, a buried shopping cart. Who knew? The impact jarred through the frame. Emma yelped. Victoria grabbed the seat. Sorry, Adrian muttered. Sorry. Can you even see where you're going? Victoria demanded. Barely. Then maybe you should stop. And do what? Sit here until we freeze? The truck's running. We have heat. We keep moving. This is insane. You have a better plan, I'm listening. Victoria didn't answer. Because she didn't have a plan. For maybe the first time in her life, Victoria Kane had no control. No leverage. No strategy. She was trapped in a dying truck with a man she'd threatened and a child she didn't know, and all the money and power in the world couldn't change that. Adrian almost felt sorry for her. Almost. There, Emma said suddenly, pointing. I see a light. Adrian squinted. She was right. A faint glow through the white. Street light or building, he couldn't tell. But it was something. He steered toward it. The truck's wheels spun, caught, pushed forward. The light grew brighter. Resolved into a gas station. Closed. Dark except for the emergency lighting over the pumps. But there was an overhang. Shelter from the wind. Adrian pulled under it, put the truck in park. The engine idled rough, but didn't die. Why are we stopping? Victoria asked. Because I can't see the road anymore, and I'm not getting us killed because I'm too stubborn to wait. Wait for what? For the plows. For the storm to ease, for visibility. He twisted in his seat to face her. Take your pick. Victoria stared at him. Her makeup had smeared. Her perfect hair was a mess. She looked exhausted and cold and angry and scared, and for once she looked human. How long? She asked. However long it takes. That's not an answer. It's the only answer I have. Emma unbuckled her seatbelt. Can we go inside? It's closed, baby. But I need to pee. Adrian closed his eyes. Of course. Okay, hold on. He climbed out. The cold hit him like a fist. Wind tried to tear the door from his hand. Snow stung his face. He could barely stand. He opened Emma's door, helped her down. The gas station had a small convenience store attached. The door was locked, but the lights were on inside. Emergency power. Adrian pounded on the glass. No response. He pounded harder. A face appeared. Old guy, maybe 60. He shook his head, pointed at a sign, closed. Please, Adrian shouted. My daughter needs a bathroom. The man hesitated, looked at Emma. She waved. The lock clicked. The door opened a crack. Make it quick, the man said. I'm not supposed to be here. Just making sure the generators don't die. Thank you. Adrian ushered Emma inside. Warmth, light. His ears rang from the temperature change. The bathroom was in back. Emma ran for it. Adrian stood in the entryway, dripping melted snow onto the floor. The old man watched him. Got somewhere to go? Cambridge, or trying to. You're not making it to Cambridge tonight. Yeah, starting to figure that out. Storm's supposed to last until morning, maybe longer. Adrian's stomach sank. You're sure? Weather Service says it's stalled, dumping snow at 2 inches an hour. The man gestured toward the windows. Roads are going to be shut down for days. Days. Adrian thought about his apartment, about the food in his fridge, the heat that worked most of the time, about being stuck in this truck with Victoria Kane for days. There a shelter nearby? He asked. High school on Elm, but that's 4 blocks and you're on foot in this, you're dead. Great. Emma emerged from the bathroom. Daddy, there's chips. We're not buying chips, but I'm hungry. She was hungry. He was hungry. Hell, Victoria was probably hungry, and they were stuck. Might as well be stuck with supplies. Adrian bought 3 bags of chips, 2 bottles of water, a pack of batteries, and a flashlight. The old man didn't charge him for the flashlight. You seem like you're having a rough night, he said. You have no idea. When Adrian got back to the truck, Victoria was in the front seat. His seat. She'd turned the heat down and was examining the dashboard like it personally offended her. This vehicle is a death trap, she said. Runs fine. The check engine light is on. It's always on. That's not reassuring. Move. Victoria stared at him. Excuse me? You're in my seat. Move. For a second he thought she'd refuse. Then she climbed into the back without a word. Adrian got in, handed Emma a bag of chips and a water. We're having chips for dinner? Emma asked. Just for tonight. Can Victoria have some? Adrian glanced in the mirror. Victoria was watching them with an expression he couldn't read. You want chips? He asked. I'm fine. You haven't eaten. I said I'm fine. Suit yourself. Emma opened her bag. Salt and vinegar. Her favorite. She crunched loudly in the silence. The wind howled. Snow piled up on the windshield faster than the wipers could clear it. The truck shuddered with each gust. So what's the plan? Victoria asked after a while. I told you, we wait. For how long? Until it's safe to drive. And if it's not safe until morning? Then we wait until morning. In this truck. Unless you want to walk to Cambridge in a blizzard, yeah, in this truck. Victoria was quiet for a moment. Then, this is your fault. Adrian's jaw clenched. How exactly is a historic snowstorm my fault? If you hadn't left the meeting, if you'd let me leave when I asked, I'd have made it home before the roads closed. You had a responsibility to the firm. I had a responsibility to my daughter. And now we're all stuck here because of your choices. Adrian twisted in his seat, looked her dead in the eye. You want to know why we're stuck here? Because your car died. Because you were too arrogant to leave before the storm hit. Because you thought you could control everything, including the weather. So don't put this on me. Victoria's face flushed. Anger or embarrassment, hard to tell. I was doing my job. Your job isn't worth a damn thing if you freeze to death doing it. Easy for you to say. You don't have a billion-dollar company depending on your decisions. No, I have something better. I have a daughter who depends on me showing up when I say I will. They stared at each other. The tension in the truck was thick enough to cut. Emma crunched another chip. Are you guys fighting? No, they said simultaneously. Emma didn't look convinced. You sound like you're fighting. Adrian faced forward, took a breath, let it out slowly. We're not fighting. We're just talking. Loud talking. Yeah, loud talking. Victoria shifted in the back seat. Adrian heard her teeth chatter. She was still soaked, still freezing, and stubborn enough to suffer in silence rather than ask for help. He pulled off his coat, handed it back to her. What are you doing? Victoria asked. You need this more than I do. I don't need... You're shaking so hard you can barely talk. Take the coat. I'm fine. You're hypothermic. Take the damn coat. Their eyes met in the mirror. Victoria's were defiant, proud. But she was smart enough to know when pride was going to kill her. She took the coat, wrapped it around herself, closed her eyes for a second like the warmth hurt. Thank you, she said quietly. Adrian nodded, turned back around. Emma was watching him with that look, the one that said she was thinking too hard. What? He asked. Nothing. She smiled. You're nice. I'm practical. Mommy always said nice and practical are the same thing. Adrian's throat tightened. Yeah, Claire would have said that. Claire, who'd volunteered at soup kitchens and donated to every charity that asked. Claire, who'd seen the best in everyone, even when they didn't deserve it. Your mom was right, he said. They sat in silence. The storm raged. The truck's heat blasted. Emma finished her chips and curled up in the seat, her head against the window. She looks like you, Victoria said. Adrian glanced back. Yeah? Same eyes, same stubborn expression. She got that from her mother. I doubt that. Despite everything, Adrian almost smiled. Fair enough. How old was she when her mother died? 5. That's young. Too young. Does she remember her? Adrian looked at Emma. She was almost asleep, her breath fogging the glass. Some days yes, some days no. I show her pictures, videos, try to keep Claire alive for her. He paused. It's hard. I imagine it is. You ever lose anyone? Victoria was quiet for so long Adrian thought she wouldn't answer. Then, my father, 3 years ago. I'm sorry. Don't be. He was a bastard. Ran the company into the ground before I took over. Spent more time drinking than working. When he died, I felt relieved. Adrian didn't know what to say to that. That's rough. It is what it is. Another silence. Longer this time. More comfortable somehow. Why'd you stop? Victoria asked suddenly. What? For me. You could have driven past. Left me stranded. After what I did to you, I wouldn't have blamed you. Adrian thought about it, about Claire's voice in his head, about the kind of man he wanted Emma to see him be. Because leaving people to freeze isn't who I am, he said. Even people who deserve it? Nobody deserves that. Victoria was quiet. Adrian could feel her staring at him in the mirror, reassessing, recalculating. You're an interesting man, Adrian Blake, she said finally. I'm really not. You walked away from a 6-figure job to save my kid. Most people wouldn't have. Then most people are cowards. Victoria laughed, short and sharp and surprising. You might be right. Emma stirred. Daddy? Yeah, baby? I'm sleepy. Go to sleep. Here? Just for a little while, until the storm gets better. Emma closed her eyes. Within minutes, her breathing evened out. She was asleep. Adrian watched her in the dim light. His daughter. His whole world. She trusted him completely. Believed he'd keep her safe no matter what. He couldn't let her down. The wind hit the truck hard. It rocked on its suspension. Adrian's hands found the wheel instinctively. Held on. How bad is it going to get? Victoria asked. Bad? Will the truck hold up? Has to. That's not an answer. It's the best I've got. More silence. The storm's howl filled it. Adrian watched snow pile up around them, watched the world disappear. I shouldn't have done it, Victoria said quietly. Adrian looked back. Done what? Made you choose. Between the meeting and your daughter. She was staring at her hands. It was cruel. Yeah, it was. I don't usually... She stopped, started again. I'm not used to people saying no. Maybe they should say it more often. Victoria's eyes met his. Maybe. The temperature in the truck was dropping. Adrian could feel it. The heater was running full blast, but it couldn't keep up. Cold seeped in through the doors, the windows, the rusted frame. We should conserve fuel, Victoria said. If we turn off the engine, we freeze. If we run out of gas, we freeze anyway. She had a point. Adrian checked the gauge. Quarter tank, maybe less. He had no idea how long that would last. We'll keep it running for now, he decided. If it gets bad, we'll figure something out. Like what? I don't know yet. Victoria pulled his coat tighter around herself. You're full of non-answers tonight. Welcome to my life. Despite everything, the storm, the cold, the fact that they were stranded and possibly going to die, Victoria smiled. Just a little. Just enough. Your life is chaos, she said. Yeah, but it's mine. The wind screamed. The truck groaned. Emma slept on, dreaming whatever 7-year-olds dreamed. And in the back seat, Victoria Kane sat wrapped in a stranger's coat, watching the storm destroy her world, and wondering when exactly everything had stopped making sense. The gas station attendant knocked on the window an hour later. Adrian jerked awake, hand going to the door lock instinctively. Emma was still asleep against the passenger window. Victoria had dozed off in the back, his coat pulled up to her chin. The old man made a rolling motion with his hand. Adrian cracked the window. Storm's not letting up, the man said. Wind whipped his words away almost before Adrian could hear them. Weather service says it's going to be like this until dawn, maybe longer. Adrian's stomach dropped. How much longer? Could be noon tomorrow, could be later. They don't know. The man glanced at Emma. You got heat? For now? How's your fuel? Adrian checked the gauge. Below a quarter tank now. Not great. You run that engine all night, you'll be out of gas by sunrise. Then you'll freeze. The old man jerked his thumb toward the store. There's a storage room in back. Got some blankets. Couple space heaters on the emergency power. Not much, but it's better than this. Adrian looked at Emma, at Victoria, at the snow already covering the windshield again. Okay, he said. Thank you. Don't thank me. Just get that kid inside before she catches pneumonia. Adrian killed the engine. The sudden silence was deafening. He opened Emma's door, scooped her up. She mumbled something, didn't wake. Victoria climbed out on her own, still wrapped in his coat, moving stiff and slow. The wind nearly knocked them over. Snow drove into Adrian's face hard enough to blind him. He held Emma tight, bent his head, pushed forward. The 20 feet to the store entrance felt like miles. Inside, the warmth hit like a wall. Adrian's skin prickled. His ears rang. Emma stirred in his arms. Where are we? She mumbled. Gas station. We're staying here tonight. Why? Because the truck's running out of gas and it's not safe to keep driving. Emma lifted her head, looked around. Fluorescent lights buzzing. Rows of chips and candy. A coffee machine in the corner still half full from whenever the power had gone out. The old man was already heading toward a door marked Employees Only. This way, he called. They followed him into the back. Storage room, like he'd said. Boxes of inventory stacked against the walls. 2 industrial space heaters sitting in the corner, both glowing orange. A couple of folding chairs. Some blankets that looked like they'd been there since the 90s. It's not the Ritz, the old man said, but you won't freeze. It's perfect, Adrian said. Seriously, thank you. Thank Iket. The man waved him off. Name's Frank. I'll be in the office if you need anything. Try not to burn the place down. He left. Adrian set Emma down. She immediately went to one of the heaters, held her hands out to it. It's warm, she said, delighted. Victoria stood in the doorway, taking it all in. Storage room, concrete floor, no windows. She looked like she'd been dropped into an alternate dimension. You okay? Adrian asked. Fine. She didn't sound fine. She sounded like someone barely holding it together. Adrian grabbed the blankets, shook them out. Dust flew. Emma sneezed. He laid them on the floor, made a makeshift bed. You should sleep, he told Emma. I'm not tired. You were asleep 5 minutes ago. That was in the truck. This is different. Adrian sighed. 7-year-old logic. Unbeatable. Fine. But sit down at least. Emma sat, pulled one of the blankets around her shoulders, watched Victoria with curious eyes. Victoria was still standing, still hadn't moved. She was staring at the space heaters like they might explode. You should sit too, Adrian said. I'm fine standing. You've been saying that all night, and you've been wrong all night. Victoria's eyes cut to him, sharp. But there was something underneath the sharpness now, something that looked like fear. I don't do well in small spaces, she said quietly. Adrian understood. The room was maybe 10 by 12. No windows. One door. For someone used to corner offices and penthouses, it probably felt like a coffin. It's just for a few hours, he said, until the storm passes. You don't know that. No, but I know we're safer here than in the truck, and that's what matters. Victoria didn't move. Adrian could see her hands shaking, could see her breathing too fast. She was on the edge of a panic attack and trying to hide it. Emma noticed too. Are you scared? She asked. Victoria's jaw tightened. No? It's okay if you are. I get scared sometimes too. I'm not a child. I didn't say you were. Emma patted the blanket next to her. You can sit by me if you want. It helps when someone's close. For a long moment, Victoria didn't respond. Then, slowly, she moved. Sat down on the blanket. Not next to Emma exactly, but close enough. Adrian watched this woman who'd built an empire on being untouchable sit on a dirty floor in a gas station storage room, wrapped in his coat, trying not to fall apart. It was almost painful to see. I'll go check with Frank, Adrian said, see if he's got any food. He left them there. Emma chattering about the storm, Victoria silent. Frank was in the office, a cramped space barely bigger than a closet. He had a transistor radio going, weather reports, all bad. They're saying 3 feet by morning, Frank said. Governor's calling in the National Guard. Shelters are full. Power's out in half the city. Adrian leaned against the door frame. We got lucky finding you. Luck's got nothing to do with it. I live 2 blocks from here, saw the storm coming and figured I'd better make sure the generators held. Otherwise corporate would have my head. Frank gestured at a mini fridge in the corner. Help yourself. Anything in there is going to spoil anyway once the power goes. Adrian opened it. Sandwiches, a few yogurts, some fruit. He grabbed what he could carry. You got kids? Frank asked. 1. The girl out there. She's lucky. Having a dad who shows up. I'm all she's got. Frank nodded slowly. The woman. That's Victoria Kane, isn't it? Adrian paused. You know her? Everyone in Boston knows her. She's on the news every other week. Corporate raider, billionaire, ice queen. Frank studied Adrian. What's she doing in your truck? Her car died. I picked her up. You picked up Victoria Kane? Yeah. In a blizzard? Yeah. Frank laughed, shook his head. Kid, you're either the nicest guy in Boston or the dumbest. Jury's still out. Adrian took the food back to the storage room. Emma was demonstrating something with her hands. Victoria was watching with an expression that might have been interest or confusion. And then the dragon goes whoosh, Emma said, making flying motions. But the knight is brave, so he doesn't run away. Knights are trained soldiers, Victoria said. Running from a dragon would be tactically sound. But then the princess would be sad. The princess could save herself. Not in this story. In this story, the knight saves her. Victoria opened her mouth, closed it, seemed to realize she was arguing fairy tale logistics with a 7-year-old. Adrian held up the sandwiches. Dinner! Emma's face lit up. Real food! They ate sitting on the floor, backs against boxes of motor oil and windshield wiper fluid. The sandwiches were basic, turkey and cheese, but after hours of nothing but chips, they tasted incredible. Emma talked between bites, about school, about her friend Maya, who had 2 pet hamsters, about the science project she was working on with volcanoes. Victoria listened. didn't contribute much. But she listened. What do you do? Emma asked her finally. I run a company. What kind of company? We buy other companies, make them better, then sell them. Emma frowned. Why? To make money. Don't you already have money? Victoria almost smiled. Yes, but money makes more money. That doesn't make sense. It does when you're older. Daddy says money's not important. He says family's important. Victoria's eyes flicked to Adrian. He shrugged. Your father's right, Victoria said quietly. Family is important. Do you have a family? No? Why not? Emma, Adrian warned. But Victoria shook her head. It's fine. She looked at Emma. I was too busy working. Didn't make time for it. That's sad. Yes, Victoria said. It is. The space heaters hummed. Wind rattled the building. Emma yawned. Time for bed, Adrian said. I'm not tired. You just yawned. That doesn't mean I'm tired. Emma, she sighed, dramatic. Fine. Adrian set up a better sleeping area, blankets layered for cushioning, his coat over her like a sleeping bag. Emma curled up, still fighting sleep. Daddy? Yeah? Are we going to be okay? Yeah, baby, we're going to be fine. Promise? There it was again, that word. Promise, he said. Emma closed her eyes. Within minutes, she was out. Adrian sat with his back against the wall, watching her breathe. Victoria sat across from him, doing the same. She trusts you completely, Victoria said. She's 7. She doesn't know any better. I think she knows exactly what she's doing. Adrian looked at Victoria, really looked. Her makeup was gone. Her hair was still damp, starting to dry in messy waves. She looked younger without the armor, more real. Can I ask you something? He said. You can ask? Why were you still at the office when the storm hit? The weather service warned everyone hours ago. Victoria was quiet for a long moment. Because I couldn't leave until the deal was done. The Baxter acquisition. Yes. Was it worth it? I thought so. This morning, she pulled the blanket tighter around her shoulders. Now I'm not sure. What changed? I nearly froze to death in a parking garage because I was too proud to leave early. That tends to put things in perspective. Adrian almost laughed. Yeah, I bet. More silence, comfortable this time, the kind that didn't need filling. I fired you, Victoria said suddenly. I know. I shouldn't have. Adrian's head came up. What? You made the right choice, leaving to get your daughter. I should have let you go when you asked. Victoria met his eyes. I'm sorry. Adrian stared. Victoria Kane didn't apologize. Ever. It was practically company policy. Okay, he said carefully. Okay? I mean, thank you for saying that. Victoria nodded, looked away. I'm not good at this. At what? Being human. Adrian did laugh then, short and quiet. You're doing better than you think. I told you your daughter was fine when she clearly wasn't. I forced you to choose between your career and your child. I've been nothing but hostile since you picked me up. Victoria's voice was flat, clinical, like she was reading charges against herself. I'm not doing better. I'm barely doing it all. You're here, Adrian said. You're trying. That's something. Is it? Yeah. Victoria looked at him. Something shifted in her expression, softened. You're very kind. I'm really not. You stopped for me when you didn't have to. Anyone would have. No, Victoria said quietly. They wouldn't have. The wind hit the building. The walls shook. Emma stirred but didn't wake. Tell me about your wife, Victoria said. Adrian tensed. Why? Because I want to understand what it's like to care about someone that much. Adrian closed his eyes, thought about Claire. She was funny, smart, had this laugh that made everyone around her laugh too. He paused. She was good, you know? Actually good. Volunteered. Helped people. Saw the best in everyone. Even you? Especially me. Adrian smiled, but it hurt. I was a mess when we met, working 2 jobs, barely making rent. She was in grad school, had her whole future planned out, and she chose me anyway. Why? I have no idea. I'm sure that's not true. No, Really? I asked her once. She said I made her feel safe, which was insane because I couldn't keep the lights on half the time. Victoria was quiet, listening. She got sick 3 years after Emma was born, Adrian continued. Cancer. We fought it. Chemo, radiation, clinical trials, everything. She went into remission. We thought we'd beaten it. But you hadn't. It came back. Worse. The doctor said 6 months. She made it 18. Adrian's throat tightened. And then one night she was driving home from work. Winter storm. Not as bad as this one, but bad enough. Car hit black ice, went into a tree. I'm sorry. Everyone's sorry. Doesn't change anything. No, Victoria said. It doesn't. They sat in silence. Adrian could feel the memories pressing in. Claire's smile, the way she'd hum while cooking, how she'd fall asleep during movies, all the small things that made a life. Emma was 5, he said, old enough to understand Mommy was gone, not old enough to understand why. Does anyone ever understand why? No. More silence. The heaters glowed, the storm raged. I never wanted children, Victoria said suddenly. Adrian looked at her. No? No. I saw what it did to my mother, gave up her career to raise me, stayed with my father even though he was cruel. All for family. Victoria's voice was bitter. I decided early I wouldn't make that mistake. Family's not a mistake. Isn't it? Look at you, struggling to make ends meet, working a job you hate, all because you have a daughter to support. I don't hate my job. I hated my boss. Adrian smiled slightly. Present company excluded. Victoria didn't smile back. You could have done more, been more. If you didn't have her. You're wrong. Am I? Yeah, because without Emma, I'd be nothing. After Claire died, I wanted to give up, just quit, but I couldn't because Emma needed me. Adrian looked at his sleeping daughter. She saved my life, not the other way around. Victoria absorbed this. I don't understand that. Maybe you will someday. I doubt it. Why? Because I'm 30 years old and I've built everything around not needing anyone. It's too late to change now. Adrian met her eyes. It's never too late. Victoria held his gaze. Something passed between them. Understanding, maybe. Or recognition. Two people who'd built walls for different reasons, sitting in a storage room while the world tried to kill them. You should sleep, Adrian said. I can't. Why not? Small spaces, I told you. We're safe here. I know. Logically, I know that. But my brain doesn't care. Adrian thought for a moment. What if I stay up? Keep watch. You need sleep too. I'll be fine. I've pulled all-nighters before. Victoria studied him. Why would you do that? Because you're scared, and I can help. I didn't say I was scared. You didn't have to. For a long moment, Victoria said nothing. Then, thank you. You're welcome. She lay down on the blankets, stiff, uncomfortable, trying to relax and failing. Adrian leaned back against the wall, watched Emma sleep, watched Victoria try to. Outside the storm howled. Inside the heaters hummed, and slowly, carefully, Victoria's breathing evened out. She didn't sleep, not really, but she rested, and that was something. Hours passed. Adrian's eyes burned. His back ached from the hard floor, but he stayed awake, kept watch like he'd promised. Around 3 a.m, Victoria spoke. Adrian? Yeah? Can I ask you something? Go ahead. If you could go back to this morning, knowing what you know now, would you still walk out of that meeting? Adrian didn't hesitate. Yes. Even knowing it would cost you your job? Even knowing. Why? Because some things matter more than money. Victoria was quiet. Then, I wish I believed that. You could start. It's too late. You keep saying that. Doesn't make it true. Another long silence. Then Victoria sat up, looked at him across the dimly lit room. What if I gave you your job back, she said. Adrian's heart stuttered. What? Your job. What if I reinstated you? Why would you do that? Because I was wrong to fire you, and because... She stopped, started again. Because you're good at what you do. The firm needs people like you. Adrian didn't know what to say. His job, the salary, the stability. Everything he'd lost 6 hours ago, handed back like it had never been gone. I don't know, he said slowly. Victoria frowned. You don't know? I don't know if I want to work for someone who'd make me choose like that again. I wouldn't. How do I know that? You don't. You'd have to trust me. Adrian laughed, tired and raw. Trust, that's a big ask. I know. Especially from you. I know that too. They stared at each other. Emma mumbled in her sleep. The heaters clicked. I'll think about it, Adrian said finally. Victoria nodded. That's fair. She lay back down. This time she did sleep. Real sleep. Her breathing deep and steady. Adrian watched her. This woman who held his future in her hands. This stranger who was becoming less strange by the hour. Outside, the storm was finally starting to ease. The wind's howl dropped to a moan. The snow fell slower. By the time the sun came up, weak and gray through the breaking clouds, they'd survived the worst of it. Emma woke first. Stretched. Looked around the storage room like she'd forgotten where she was. Morning, Daddy. Morning, baby. Is the storm over? Adrian checked his phone. News alerts, road closures lifting, plows deployed. Yeah, he said. I think it is. Victoria stirred, sat up slowly. Her hair was a disaster, her clothes wrinkled. But she was alive. They all were. We made it, she said. Yeah, Adrian agreed. We did. Frank appeared in the doorway. Roads are opening, slow but passable. You folks want some coffee? They did. They drank bad gas station coffee while Emma ate a granola bar and talked about how she was going to tell everyone at school about sleeping in a storage room during the blizzard. Victoria was quiet, distant, like she was already planning her return to the world she'd left behind. When the coffee was gone, they headed back to the truck. The snow had stopped. The sky was clearing. Boston was buried under 3 feet of white, but the city was coming back to life. Plows rumbling, people digging out, emergency vehicles responding. Adrian's truck started on the first try. Miracle. He drove carefully. The roads were terrible but navigable. Victoria sat in the back again, Emma in front. No one talked much. They reached Adrian's apartment building around 9. The radiators were clanking. The heat worked. Another miracle. Adrian helped Emma inside, then came back for Victoria. She was standing on the sidewalk, looking lost. You can come up, Adrian said, until you figure out your next move. I should call my office. You should, but you can do it from inside where it's warm. Victoria hesitated, then nodded. They climbed 3 flights. The apartment was small and shabby, and nothing like what Victoria was used to, but it was warm, and it was safe. Emma immediately ran to her room to check on her toys. Adrian heard her talking to her stuffed animals, telling them about the adventure. Victoria stood in the living room, looking around. It's not much, Adrian said. It's home, Victoria replied, and she sounded almost envious. Victoria's phone rang before she could say anything else. She pulled it from her pocket, looked at the screen, and her whole face changed. The softness that had been there a moment ago disappeared behind a mask Adrian was starting to recognize. I need to take this, she said. She walked to the window, turned her back to the room. Adrian heard her voice shift into something colder, sharper, the voice that ran boardrooms and crushed competitors. Richard, yes, I'm fine. No, the car's totaled. I'll deal with it later. A pause. What do you mean they're moving forward? Adrian went to the kitchen, started coffee. The machine was older than Emma and made sounds like it was dying, but it worked. He could hear Victoria's voice rising in the other room. That's not acceptable. We had until Friday. They can't just... She stopped, listened. When? Emma appeared in the kitchen doorway, dragging her favorite stuffed rabbit. Is Victoria mad? She's working, baby. She sounds mad. Yeah, she does. The coffee maker gurgled. Adrian pulled down mugs. One had a chip in the rim. The other said, World's okay as Dad. Claire had given it to him as a joke. He still used it every day. Victoria's voice cut through the apartment. I don't care what the board thinks. This is my deal, my company. They don't move without me. Adrian poured coffee, added sugar to 1 mug, left the other black. He didn't know how Victoria took her coffee, but black seemed right somehow. Tell them I'll be there in an hour, Victoria said. She ended the call, stood staring out the window at the snow-covered street below. Adrian brought her the coffee. She took it without looking at him. Thank you, she said quietly. Bad news? Baxter Industries accepted a competing offer. Some hedge fund out of New York. They're signing papers this afternoon. The deal you were working on last night. Yes. Victoria's jaw clenched. 6 months of work. Gone. I'm sorry. She turned to face him. Are you? Yeah, actually. Why? You don't care about corporate acquisitions. No, but you do. And losing something you worked hard for sucks, no matter what it is. Victoria stared at him. Something flickered in her eyes. Surprise, maybe. Or gratitude. She looked down at the coffee mug. World's okayest dad, she read. Almost smiled. Accurate? On good days. This time she did smile. Small, but real. I doubt that. The radiator clanked loud enough to make them both jump. Victoria looked at it like it might explode. It does that, Adrian said. A building's old. Everything makes noise. How old? 100 years, maybe more. And the landlord hasn't renovated? He keeps it running. That's enough. Victoria looked around the kitchen. Chipped linoleum, cabinets that didn't quite close, window that let in a draft. You deserve better than this. It's what I can afford. That's my point. Adrian's hands tightened on his mug. Not everyone gets corner offices and luxury cars. No, but you could, if you came back, if you took the job. I said I'd think about it. Have you? Not really. Been kind of busy surviving a blizzard. Victoria set her coffee down. I need to go. My driver's sending a car, should be here in 20 minutes. Roads are still bad. I don't have a choice. If I'm not in that boardroom today, the board will use it against me. They're already looking for reasons to push me out. Adrian frowned. Why would they do that? Because I'm 30 and female, and I took the company from my father when everyone said I couldn't. Because I make decisions they don't like. Because I don't play politics. Victoria's voice was flat, matter of fact. They've been waiting for me to fail. This might be their chance. That's insane. That's business. Emma wandered in, still carrying her rabbit. She climbed onto a chair, looked at Victoria with solemn eyes. Are you leaving? Emma asked. Yes. Are you coming back? Victoria opened her mouth, closed it. I don't know. Oh. Emma's face fell. I thought maybe we were friends now. Something cracked in Victoria's expression. She knelt down so she was eye level with Emma. We are friends. Then you'll come back? Victoria stopped, looked at Adrian. He had no idea what she wanted from him. Permission? Guidance? He shrugged. Victoria turned back to Emma. Maybe, if your father says it's okay. Daddy? Emma looked at him hopefully. Adrian felt trapped. He didn't want Victoria Kane in his life. Didn't want the complications. The reminders of everything he'd lost last night. The risk of getting involved with someone who lived in a different world. But Emma was looking at him with those eyes. The ones that trusted him to make the right choice. Yeah, he said. It's okay. Emma beamed. Victoria stood, something uncertain in her face. I should change, she said, before the car gets here. You don't have any clothes here. I know, but I can't show up to the office looking like this. She was right. Her suit was wrinkled, stained. Her hair was still a mess. She looked like she'd spent the night in a storage room, which she had. Wait here, Adrian said. He went to his bedroom, dug through the closet, found one of Claire's old work dresses in the back. Navy blue. Simple, professional. He'd kept meaning to donate her clothes, but could never bring himself to do it. He brought it out, held it up. Victoria stared. I can't wear that. Why not? It's, She stopped. It was your wife's. Yeah, and she would have wanted someone to use it. Better than sitting in a closet. Victoria reached out, touched the fabric. Are you sure? No, but take it anyway. She did. Disappeared into the bathroom. Came out 5 minutes later looking almost like herself again. The dress fit well enough. She'd done something with her hair, put it back up, found some makeup in her purse. The transformation was startling. The woman who'd sat terrified in a storage room was gone. Victoria Kane, CEO, had returned. "How do I look?" she asked. "Like you're about to fire someone." "Good, that's what I'm going for." A car horn honked outside. Victoria grabbed her ruined suit jacket, checked her phone. "That's my ride." She looked at Adrian. "Thank you for everything." "You're welcome." She moved toward the door, stopped, turned back. "The job offer stands, if you want it." "I know." "And if you don't—" She hesitated. "You should call me anyway. Sometime." "Why?" "Because I think we could be friends, real ones, not just people who survived a storm together." Adrian didn't know what to say to that. Victoria Kane wanted to be his friend. The woman who'd threatened his career 12 hours ago now wanted to be in his life. "Maybe," he said. "I'll take maybe." She crouched down, looked at Emma. "Take care of your father." "I will," Emma promised. Victoria left. Adrian heard her footsteps on the stairs, heard the building door open and close, watched from the window as she climbed into a black town car that looked absurdly out of place on the snowy street. The car pulled away. Emma came to stand beside him. "I like her," Emma said. "Yeah?" "She's sad. But she's nice under the sad." Adrian looked down at his daughter, 7 years old and already seen things he'd missed. "You're pretty smart, you know that?" "I know," Emma said matter-of-factly. "Mrs. Chen says I'm perceptive." Mrs. Chen is right. They watched the street, watched people digging out cars, watched the city slowly return to life. Adrian's phone buzzed, text from Richard. "Heard you made it through the storm. Victoria told me what happened. We should talk." Adrian deleted it. He wasn't ready to think about work, about decisions, about anything beyond the fact that Emma was safe and they'd survived. "Daddy?" Emma said. "Can we make pancakes?" "Yeah, baby, we can make pancakes." They did. Burnt them a little, didn't care. Ate them with too much syrup and laughed when Emma got it on her nose. It was a good morning, despite everything. The good morning didn't last. 3 days later, Adrian got the call he'd been dreading. He was in the apartment, trying to fix the leaky faucet in the bathroom while Emma did homework at the kitchen table. Unknown number. He almost didn't answer, then thought better of it. "Hello? Mr. Blake? This is Jennifer Park from Human Resources at Kane Equity Partners." Adrian's stomach dropped. "Yeah? I'm calling to inform you that your employment has been officially terminated as of last Friday. Your final paycheck and benefits information will be mailed to you. We'll need you to return any company property within—" "I don't have any company property." "Oh, well, then that's settled." A pause. "I'm sorry, Mr. Blake, for what it's worth." She hung up. Adrian stood there holding the phone, feeling something cold settle in his chest. Fired. Officially. Permanently. Victoria had said she'd give him his job back, had offered it that morning in this very apartment. But 3 days had passed and nothing. No call. No email. Nothing. He should have known better. Should have known that whatever had happened during the storm was temporary. A glitch in Victoria Kane's programming. She was back in her world now, back to being the person who didn't care about anything except winning. Emma looked up from her homework. "Who was that?" "Nobody, baby." "You look sad." "I'm fine." He wasn't fine. He'd been fired from the best job he'd had in years. His savings would last maybe 2 months if he was careful. Then what? Another job search. Another round of explaining the gaps in his resume. Another year of barely making it. His phone buzzed again. Text from an unknown number. "This is Victoria. I'm sorry I haven't called. Things have been complicated. Can we talk?" Adrian stared at the message. Felt anger rise hot in his throat. Complicated. Like his life wasn't complicated. Like losing his job wasn't complicated. He typed back, "No," sent it, put the phone down, went back to the faucet. It buzzed again. He ignored it. Again and again. Finally, he looked. "Please, it's important. I know I said I'd give you your job back. I meant it, but I can't right now, and I need to explain why." Adrian closed his eyes, took a breath, texted back, "Fine. When?" "Tonight. I'll come to you." He almost said no, almost told her to forget it. But Emma was watching him with those perceptive eyes, and he knew she'd ask questions if he didn't at least hear Victoria out. 7 o'clock, he sent. Thank you. Adrian put the phone away, finished the faucet. It still leaked, but less than before. Small victories. The rest of the day dragged. Emma went to her friend Maya's house after school. Adrian cleaned the apartment even though it didn't need cleaning. Made dinner even though he wasn't hungry. Watched the clock. 7 o'clock came. Victoria was late. 7:15, 7:30. Adrian was about to give up when someone knocked. He opened the door. Victoria stood there in a long coat, snow in her hair, looking exhausted. "I'm sorry I'm late," she said. "Traffic was hell." "Come in." She did. Shook off her coat. Underneath, she was wearing jeans and a sweater. Adrian had never seen her in anything but business clothes. It was jarring. "Where's Emma?" Victoria asked. "Sleepover at a friend's house." "Oh." They stood in the small entryway, awkward. Victoria looked around like she was seeing the apartment for the first time. Maybe she was. That morning 3 days ago had been chaos. Neither of them had been paying attention to details. "You want coffee?" Adrian asked. "Please." They went to the kitchen. Adrian made coffee. The old machine protested as usual. Victoria sat at the table, hands folded. "I got fired," Adrian said, "officially." "I know. I tried to stop it. Did you?" "Yes. The board overruled me." Adrian set a mug in front of her. "The board that's trying to push you out." "Yes." "So what happened? With the Baxter deal? With everything?" Victoria wrapped her hands around the mug like she was cold. "After the storm, I went back to the office. The board was already there. They'd called an emergency meeting. Without me." "They can do that?" "Technically, yes, if they have enough votes." Victoria's jaw tightened. "They told me the Baxter deal falling through was my fault. That I'd been too aggressive, too inflexible, that I'd cost the company millions." "That's bullshit." "Maybe, but it gave them ammunition. They passed a vote of no confidence, stripped me of some of my authority, including hiring and firing decisions." Adrian sat down across from her. "They fired me to hurt you." "Yes." "Why?" "Because you walked out of the meeting. Because I went after you. Because, She stopped. "Because they know something happened during that storm and they're using it against me." "What did happen?" Victoria met his eyes. "I don't know, but whatever it was, it scared them." They drank coffee in silence. The radiator clanked. Outside, someone was shoveling snow, the scrape of metal on pavement. "They're planning something," Victoria said quietly. "A major restructuring, layoffs, hundreds of people, maybe more." "When?" "Next month. They're calling it efficiency, cutting costs. But really it's about proving they're in control, not me." "Can you stop it?" "I'm trying, but I'm outnumbered. My father left the board stacked with his cronies, old men who think I'm too young and too female to run anything." "So fight back." "I am, but I need ammunition." Victoria leaned forward. "The layoff plan includes your entire department, everyone who worked under Richard, 23 people, all gone." Adrian felt sick. "Richard too?" "Richard's safe, he plays politics, but everyone else—" She shook her head. "Gone." "Why are you telling me this?" "Because I want to stop it, but I can't do it alone." Victoria's eyes locked on his. "I need proof that the restructuring isn't about efficiency. It's about punishing me. And I think you can help me find it." "How?" "You worked in acquisitions. You know how the deals are structured, how the money flows. If I'm right, this layoff plan is connected to a deal the board is pushing. One I opposed. One that's going to make them very rich and destroy the company long term." Adrian shook his head. "I don't have access to any of that anymore." "No, but you have connections. People who still work there, people who trust you." "You want me to dig up dirt on my former employer." "I want you to help me save 23 jobs, including your own." "You said you can't hire me back." "Not right now. But if I win this fight, if I get control back, I can do whatever I want, including bringing you back. With a raise." Adrian laughed, bitter. "You're unbelievable." "I'm desperate. Why should I help you? You fired me. Your board used me as a pawn. I don't owe you anything." "No, you don't." Victoria's voice was steady. "But those 23 people didn't do anything wrong. They have families, mortgages, kids in college, and they're going to lose everything because some old men want to prove a point. That's not my problem. isn't it? You know what it's like? To lose everything, to scramble and fight and barely make it. You really want to stand by while that happens to other people? Adrian wanted to say yes, wanted to tell her to fight her own battles. But he thought about Richard, about Linda from legal, about the analysts whose names he barely knew, but who'd always been decent to him. "What do you need me to do?" he asked. Victoria pulled out her phone, opened an email, showed him the screen. "This is the proposed restructuring plan. Confidential. I'm not supposed to have it." Adrian read. It was worse than she'd described. Not just layoffs, whole departments gutted, salary freezes, benefit cuts. "Jesus," he muttered. "Keep reading." He did. Got to the end. Saw the attachment. A deal memo. Acquisition target? Baxter Industries. Acquiring entity? Not Kane Equity Partners. Some shell company he'd never heard of. "What is this?" Adrian asked. "That's what I need you to find out. Who's behind that shell company, how it's connected to the board, and why they're willing to destroy my company to make it happen." "You think they're cutting a side deal?" "I know they are. I just can't prove it." Adrian sat back, thought about it, about what Victoria was asking. It wasn't illegal. Probably. But it was risky. If the board found out he was helping her, they'd make sure he never worked in finance again. "If I do this," he said slowly, "and we're wrong, if there's nothing there, I've burned bridges for nothing. I know. And if we're right, and the board finds out I helped you, they'll come after me. I'll protect you." "How?" "I'll find a way." Adrian wanted to believe her, wanted to trust that Victoria Kane, who'd threatened his job less than a week ago, would actually have his back. But trust was expensive, and he'd already lost too much. "I'll think about it," he said. Victoria nodded, stood. "That's all I'm asking." She put on her coat, headed for the door, stopped. "Adrian?" "Yeah?" "I meant what I said. That morning, about being friends." "I know." "Do you believe me?" Adrian looked at her. This woman who'd walked into his life like a wrecking ball, who'd cost him his job and then asked for his help, who'd sat in a storage room and admitted she was scared. "I want to," he said honestly. "Then give me a chance to prove it." She left. Adrian stood in the empty apartment, listening to her footsteps fade down the stairs. He should say no. Should walk away from Victoria Kane and her corporate wars and focus on finding a new job. A safe job. Something stable for Emma. But he kept thinking about those 23 people, about families and mortgages and kids in college, about what Claire would have done. She would have helped. No question. Claire, who'd seen the best in everyone, who'd believed people could change. Adrian pulled out his phone, texted Richard. "Coffee tomorrow?" "My treat." The response came fast. "Sure, everything okay?" "Yeah, just want to catch up." He sent it, put the phone down, looked around the apartment that was too small and too cold and barely held together. Emma came home an hour later, full of stories about her sleepover. She'd stayed up late watching movies, eaten too much pizza, laughed so hard she'd snorted. She fell asleep on the couch halfway through telling him about it. Adrian carried her to bed, tucked her in, stood in the doorway watching her breathe. Whatever he decided, help Victoria or walk away, it would change things, change everything. He could feel it. The question was whether he was ready for that. Adrian made coffee the next morning and met Richard at a diner in Kenmore Square. Richard looked tired, older than he had a week ago. "Hell of a storm," Richard said, sliding into the booth. "Yeah. Heard you and Victoria had quite the adventure." "News travels fast." She told the board, used it to explain why she missed the emergency meeting. Richard stirred his coffee. "Didn't help much." "She told me about the vote, the restructuring." Richard's expression darkened. "So you know." "Yeah." "I'm sorry, Adrian. I tried to protect you, protect everyone, but the board—" He shook his head. "They're out for blood. Victoria thinks there's more to it, some side deal." Richard went very still. "She said that?" "Yeah, shell company, secret acquisition. Sound familiar?" "Adrian, don't." "Don't what?" "Don't get involved. Victoria's fighting a war she can't win, and anyone who helps her is going down with her." "So there is something." Richard looked around the diner, leaned in close. "Off the record?" "Off the record. The board's been negotiating with Baxter for months, behind Victoria's back. Different terms, more favorable to them personally. They set up a shell company to hide the ownership structure. That's fraud. Only if someone can prove it, and good luck with that. These guys are smart, lawyers on retainer, paper trails that go nowhere. Adrian felt something cold in his gut. They're stealing from their own company. Welcome to high finance. And the restructuring, cover. Make the company look leaner, more attractive to investors. Then they flip it, make millions, leave Victoria holding the bag. She knows. Of course she knows, but knowing and proving are different things. Richard drank his coffee, grimaced. Why are you asking me this? Victoria wants my help, digging up evidence. Jesus, Adrian, don't. Why not? Because they'll destroy you. These aren't people who play fair. You cross them, you're done. Not just at Kane Equity, everywhere. So I should just let them get away with it? I'm saying pick your battles. You've got a kid to think about, stability, a future. Adrian thought about Emma, about Claire, about promises kept and lives that mattered. What would you do? He asked. If you were me. Richard was quiet for a long time. Then, I'd walk away. Find another job. Forget Victoria Kane ever existed. But you're not walking away. I'm stuck. You're not. Those 23 people, they're stuck too. You can't save them. Maybe not, but I can try. Richard sighed, pulled a flash drive from his pocket, slid it across the table. Everything I have, deal memos, email chains, wire transfers. It's not enough to prove anything, but it's a start. Adrian stared at the flash drive. Why are you helping? Because Victoria is the only one in that building who gives a damn about people. And because... Richard stopped. Because I'm tired of watching good people get screwed while rich assholes get richer. Adrian took the flash drive, put it in his pocket. Thank you. Don't thank me. Just be careful. These guys play for keeps. They finished their coffee, talked about other things, the weather, Emma's school, nothing important. When they left, Richard grabbed Adrian's arm. Whatever you do, protect Victoria. She acts tough, but she's vulnerable, more than she knows. I will. And Adrian, if this goes sideways, if they come after you, run. Don't be a hero, just run. Adrian nodded, but he knew he couldn't, not anymore. That afternoon, he called Victoria. I'm in, he said when she answered. You're sure? No, but I'm in anyway. There was a pause, then, thank you. Don't thank me yet. We might both regret this. Probably, Victoria said, but at least we'll regret it together. They worked through the night. Victoria came to Adrian's apartment after Emma went to bed, carrying her laptop in a determination that bordered on reckless. Adrian made coffee. Bad coffee. The kind that tasted like it had been filtered through old socks. Victoria drank it anyway. The flash drive Richard had given him was a maze. Encrypted files, code names instead of real ones. Wire transfers bouncing through 3 countries before landing somewhere in the Caymans. This is deliberate, Victoria said, squinting at the screen. They're hiding the money trail. Can you follow it? Maybe. If I had a forensic accountant and about 6 weeks. We don't have 6 weeks. I know. Adrian leaned back in his chair. His eyes burned. It was past midnight, and they'd been at this for hours. There has to be something simpler, something obvious they missed. People this smart don't miss obvious things. Everyone misses something, we just have to find it. Victoria scrolled through another file, paused. Wait, what? This email. From one of the board members to Baxter's CEO. Look at the date. Adrian looked. 3 months ago, before your acquisition attempt. Exactly. They were negotiating before I even approached Baxter, which means they sabotaged you from the start. Victoria's face went hard. Those bastards. Is it enough? It's a start, but we need more. We need to connect the shell company to the board directly, Adrian thought. The shell company had to be registered somewhere, filed paperwork. There's always a paper trail. Not if they're smart about it. Delaware corporations, numbered LLCs, anonymous trusts. Nobody's that careful. Someone made a mistake. We just have to find it. They kept digging. 2 in the morning became 3. 3 became 4. Coffee turned into energy drinks Adrian found in the back of the fridge, probably expired. Neither of them cared. Emma appeared in the doorway around 5, dragging her rabbit. Daddy? Adrian's head snapped up. Hey, baby, you're up early. I had a bad dream. He stood, went to her, knelt down. You okay? Yeah, just scared. Emma looked past him at Victoria. Are you guys still working? Yeah, Victoria said quietly. I'm sorry we woke you. You didn't. The dream did. Emma climbed into Adrian's lap. What are you working on? Grown-up stuff, Adrian said. Nah, nothing interesting. Is it about the people losing their jobs? Adrian and Victoria exchanged glances. How do you know about that? I heard you talking. Last night when you thought I was asleep. Emma looked at Victoria. Are you trying to save them? We're trying, Victoria said. That's good. Daddy says helping people is important. Your father's right, Emma yawned, rested her head on Adrian's shoulder. I like you better now. Better than what? Than before. When you were scary. Victoria's expression softened. I was scary? A little, but not anymore. Now you're just sad and tired like Daddy. Adrian almost laughed. Thanks, Em. It's okay. Sad and tired people need friends. Emma yawned again. I'm going to go back to bed. Adrian carried her to her room, tucked her in. By the time he got back, Victoria was staring at the screen with something that looked like tears in her eyes. You okay? He asked. Your daughter thinks I was scary. You were scary. You fired me, remember? I know. Victoria wiped her eyes quickly. I didn't think it showed. How much I was hurting people. Adrian sat down. It showed. You just didn't notice. Because I didn't want to. Yeah. Victoria was quiet. Then, I don't want to be that person anymore. Then don't be. It's not that simple. Sure it is. You make a choice every day, who you want to be, what you want to matter. And if I choose wrong, then you choose again tomorrow. Victoria looked at him, really looked. When did you get so wise? I'm not wise. I'm just tired of watching good people suffer because bad people don't care. They went back to work. The sun came up. Light filled the kitchen. Adrian made breakfast. Scrambled eggs and toast. Victoria ate like she couldn't remember the last time she'd had a real meal. Around 9, Adrian's phone rang. Richard. Tell me you found something, Richard said without preamble. Maybe. Email chain showing the board negotiated with Baxter before Victoria's bid. That's conspiracy, not fraud. I know, we need more. What about the shell company? Any luck tracking ownership? It's buried under layers. We can't... Adrian stopped. Wait, who registered it? What? The shell company. Someone had to file the paperwork, register it with the state. That's public record. Richard was quiet. You're right. Delaware corporate filings. They're online. Can you access them? Yeah, give me 10 minutes. The call ended. Adrian looked at Victoria. We might have something. Might? Better than nothing. Richard called back 15 minutes later. Got it. The shell company, Riverside Holdings, LLC, was registered in Delaware 6 months ago. Registered agent is a law firm, standard. But there's a secondary filing, an amendment, added 2 weeks ago. What kind of amendment? Change of ownership structure, and guess whose name appears in the documentation? Adrian's pulse quickened. Tell me. Thomas Klein, board chairman, and James Voss, board treasurer. That's it, Victoria said. She'd been listening on speaker. That's the proof we need. It's not enough for a criminal case, Richard warned, but it's enough to go to the other board members. Show them Klein and Voss have been operating behind everyone's backs. Can you get me a copy of that filing? Victoria asked. Already emailed it. Check your phone. Victoria did. Opened the attachment. Stared at it like it was the most beautiful thing she'd ever seen. We have them. What are you going to do? Richard asked. I'm calling an emergency board meeting. Victoria, they'll shut you down. Not if I bring this. Not if I show them what Klein and Voss have been doing. They might not care. Then I'll make them care. She hung up, started typing on her laptop, composing an email. Adrian watched her work, watched the transformation. The scared woman from the storage room was gone. In her place was someone harder, sharper, but different than before. This version of Victoria Kane didn't just want to win, She wanted to do it right. "When's the meeting?" Adrian asked. "This afternoon, 2 o'clock. "You sure you're ready?" "No, but I'm doing it anyway." Victoria looked at him. "Will you come? To the board meeting?" "Yes." "Why?" "Because I need someone there who believes in what I'm doing, someone who isn't afraid of them." Adrian thought about it. Thought about Emma. About stability. About all the reasons he should say no. "Okay," he said. "I'll come." The Kane Equity Partners building looked different in daylight, glass and steel reaching toward a sky that was finally clear after days of storms. Adrian stood on the sidewalk, staring up at it. Victoria stood beside him. "You don't have to do this," she said. "I know. If they see you helping me, I know. You could lose everything." Adrian looked at her. "I already did. Last week. Remember? This is different." "Is it?" Victoria didn't answer. They went inside. The elevator ride to the 47th floor felt longer than it should have. Victoria was quiet, tense. Her hands kept fidgeting with her phone. "You nervous?" Adrian asked. "Terrified." "Good. Means you care. What if they don't listen?" "Then you make them listen." The elevator doors opened. They stepped out into the reception area. Same as it had been that night, but different somehow, smaller, less intimidating. The receptionist's eyes went wide when she saw Victoria, then wider when she saw Adrian. "Ms. Kane, Mr. Blake, we weren't expecting—" "Is the board assembled?" Victoria asked. "Yes, but good, we're going in." Victoria walked toward the conference room. Adrian followed. The receptionist scrambled for the phone, probably calling security. Didn't matter. They were already at the door. Victoria pushed it open. 12 men turned to stare. Old men. Rich men. Men who looked at Victoria like she was an interruption they hadn't planned for. Thomas Klein sat at the head of the table. Silver hair, expensive suit, face like carved granite. "Victoria, we didn't summon you." "No. I summoned myself." Victoria walked to the center of the room. Adrian stayed near the door. "And I brought evidence." "Evidence of what? James Voss?" Sitting to Klein's right, smug smile that made Adrian want to punch him. "Fraud? Conspiracy? Breach of fiduciary duty? Take your pick." The room went silent. Klein's expression didn't change. "You're making serious accusations." "I'm stating facts." Victoria pulled out her laptop, connected it to the presentation screen. 6 months ago, this board, specifically you, Thomas, and you, James, created a shell company called Riverside Holdings. You used it to negotiate a private acquisition of Baxter Industries. Behind my back. Behind this company's back. For your personal profit. "That's absurd," Voss said. "Is it?" Victoria clicked to the first slide. The Delaware corporate filing. "This is the registration document. Riverside Holdings, LLC. Filed 3 days after I told this board I was pursuing Baxter." Coincidence? Murmurs around the table. Some of the board members looked confused. Others looked angry. "That proves nothing," Klein said. "Doesn't it?" Another slide. Email chains. "These are communications between you and Baxter's CEO, dated before my official approach. Negotiating terms, promising favorable treatment, offering board seats." More murmurs, louder now. "Where did you get those?" Klein's voice was cold. "Doesn't matter. What matters is that you sabotaged your own company's deal to line your pockets. And then," another slide, "the restructuring plan. You proposed mass layoffs to make the company look lean, attractive, so you could flip it for a profit." "The restructuring is about efficiency," Voss said. "Nothing more." "Really? Because the timing is awfully convenient. Cut costs, boost margins, make yourselves look good to investors. Then sell to Baxter through your shell company. Pocket the difference." Victoria leaned forward. "How much were you planning to make, James? 50 million? 100? Voss's face went red. "This is slander." "It's truth. And everyone in this room knows it." Klein stood. "Enough. Victoria, you're out of line. These accusations are baseless and—" "Sit down, Thomas." The voice came from the far end of the table. Carl Winters, board member, old friend of Victoria's father. He'd been quiet until now. Klein turned. "Carl, sit down." Carl's voice was steel. Let her finish. Klein sat, slowly. Victoria clicked to the final slide. This is the amended ownership filing for Riverside Holdings, added 2 weeks ago. It lists Thomas Klein and James Voss as beneficial owners. In writing, in a public document. She looked around the room. They didn't just betray this company. They were stupid about it. The room erupted. Board members shouting. Klein and Voss trying to defend themselves. Carl Winters banging his hand on the table for order. Adrian watched from the doorway. Watched Victoria stand in the center of the storm, calm and steady. This was her world. Her fight. And she was winning. Carl finally got everyone quiet. Thomas? James? Is this true? It's a misunderstanding, Klein said. That's not an answer. We were exploring options, private investments, nothing illegal. Using a shell company, negotiating behind the board's back? Carl's face was hard. That's not exploring options. That's fraud. We can explain. Save it. Carl looked at the other board members. I move for an immediate vote. Remove Thomas Klein and James Voss from the board. Effective immediately. Pending investigation. Second, someone said. Adrian couldn't see who. All in favor? 8 hands went up, out of 12. Motion passes. Carl turned to Klein and Voss. You're done. Get out. Klein stood, face white. You can't do this. We just did. Carl's voice was flat. And if I were you, I'd get a good lawyer because Victoria's evidence is going to the SEC and probably the DA. Klein and Voss left. Slowly. Like men walking to their execution. The door closed behind them. The remaining board members turned to Victoria. What about the restructuring? Someone asked. I'm canceling it, Victoria said. All of it, no layoffs, no benefit cuts. We'll find another way to improve margins. The company needs to be competitive, another board member said. The company needs to be ethical. Competitive comes second. Victoria looked around the room. I'm not my father. I'm not Thomas Klein. I won't build profit on broken lives. Carl smiled, small but real. Your father would be proud. No, he wouldn't, and I don't care. Victoria closed her laptop. This meeting is adjourned. She walked out. Adrian followed. They made it to the elevator before Victoria's knees gave out. Adrian caught her, held her steady. You okay? I just destroyed 2 men's careers. They destroyed themselves. I know, but it doesn't feel good. It's not supposed to. The elevator came. They rode down in silence. When they hit the lobby, Victoria stopped. I need to make a call, she said. Okay. She dialed, put the phone to her ear. Jennifer, it's Victoria Kane. I need you to do something for me. Pause. Reinstate Adrian Blake. Effective immediately, full salary, full benefits. Retroactive to his termination date. Another pause. No, the board approved it. Just do it. And Jennifer, restore everyone on the layoff list. Tell them they're safe. She hung up, looked at Adrian. You're hired. Again. Adrian felt something loosen in his chest. Thank you. Don't thank me. You earned it, and I still owe you a raise. They walked outside. The air was cold, but the sun was shining. Boston looked clean after the storm. New. What happens now? Adrian asked. Now I rebuild. The board. The company. Everything. Victoria looked exhausted. It's going to take years. You'll do it. How do you know? Because you're stubborn and you care. That's a dangerous combination. Victoria smiled. Is that a compliment? It's an observation. They stood on the sidewalk. People passed by, life happening around them. I should go, Adrian said. Pick up Emma. Yeah, I should. Victoria stopped. Actually, I have no idea what I should do. I just blew up my entire board. Celebrate? I don't feel like celebrating. Then come to dinner, my place. Nothing fancy, just food and Emma asking a million questions. Victoria looked at him. You sure? Yeah, I'm sure. She smiled, real and warm. Okay. They took the subway to Cambridge, Victoria in her business suit sitting next to Adrian in his worn jacket. She looked out of place. Didn't seem to care. I've never taken the T before, she said. Never? I always had a driver. That must have been nice. It was lonely. The train rattled through tunnels. Victoria watched the graffiti fly past, watched people reading books and scrolling phones and living ordinary lives. I missed this, she said quietly. The subway? No. Just being normal, being part of the world instead of above it. Adrian understood. He'd seen Victoria's world. Glass towers and private cars and people who said yes to everything. It was isolating, even with all the money. You're not above it anymore, he said. No, I'm not. Victoria looked at him. Thank you. For what? For stopping. That night in the storm. You could have left me, but you didn't. Anyone would have stopped. No, they wouldn't have. But you did. And it changed everything. The train pulled into their stop. They got off, walked through streets that were still piled with snow. Kids were building snowmen. Someone was shoveling a driveway. Normal life. Simple life. They picked up Emma from school. She ran to Adrian, saw Victoria, and her face lit up. You came back, Emma said. I did. Are you staying for dinner? If that's okay. It's very okay. They walked home, Emma between them, holding both their hands, talking about her day, about the book report she had to write, about how Maya's hamster had babies. Adrian made spaghetti, burned the garlic bread. Victoria set the table. Emma provided commentary on everything. They ate in the small kitchen, cramped and warm and full of laughter. Emma told terrible jokes. Victoria actually laughed, real laughs, the kind that made her eyes crinkle. After dinner, Emma showed Victoria her room, the glow-in-the-dark stars that Claire had put up, the bookshelf Adrian had built crooked but functional, the drawing Emma had made of their family, stick figures holding hands. That's me and Daddy, Emma explained, pointed to a third figure. And that's Mommy, in heaven. Victoria's eyes got shiny. It's beautiful. You can be in the next one if you want. I'd like that. They came back to the living room. Emma yawned. Adrian sent her to brush her teeth. Victoria stood by the window, looking out at the street below. Quiet. You okay? Adrian asked. Yeah, this is nice, being here, feeling like I'm part of something. You are part of something. What? This, us, whatever this is. Victoria turned. What is this? Adrian thought about it. About the woman who'd threatened his job, who'd sat terrified in a storage room, who'd stood up to powerful men and won, who played with his daughter and laughed at bad jokes. I don't know, he said honestly, but I'd like to find out. Victoria crossed the room, stood close to him. So would I. They stayed like that, close but not touching, something unspoken hanging between them. Emma came back in pajamas, climbed onto the couch. Can Victoria stay? It's late, Em. She should probably go home. But what if there's another storm? Adrian looked at Victoria. She was trying not to smile. There's not going to be another storm, he said. You don't know that. The weather is Emma struggled with the word. Unpredictable, Victoria supplied. Yeah, that. She's got a point, Victoria said to Adrian. You're not helping. I never do. Adrian sighed. Fine, you can stay, but you're taking the couch. Deal. He got blankets, made up the couch while Emma supervised. Victoria watched with something soft in her expression. Emma hugged Victoria goodnight. I'm glad you're not scary anymore. Me too, Victoria said. Adrian tucked Emma in. When he came back, Victoria was sitting on the couch, wrapped in a blanket, looking more relaxed than he'd ever seen her. Thank you, she said, for everything. You keep saying that. Because I keep meaning it. Adrian sat in the chair across from her. What happens tomorrow? I go back to work, start fixing everything, probably make 100 new enemies. Sounds exhausting. It will be, Victoria paused, but I won't be doing it alone, not anymore. No? No, I have... She stopped, smiled. I have friends now, real ones. Just friends? Victoria met his eyes. Is that what you want? Adrian thought about Claire, about promises made and kept, about moving forward without forgetting, about how love wasn't finite, how you could carry someone in your heart and still make room for someone new. I don't know what I want, he said honestly, But I know I want you in my life in whatever way makes sense. That's good enough for me. They talked until midnight, about everything and nothing. Victoria told him about growing up with a father who never saw her, about building a company to prove she mattered, about how empty winning felt when there was no one to share it with. Adrian told her about Claire, about grief that didn't go away but changed shape, about learning to be enough for Emma, even when he felt like he was falling apart. "You're a good father," Victoria said. "I'm trying." "That's what makes you good." Eventually, they ran out of words. Victoria fell asleep on the couch. Adrian covered her with another blanket, stood there watching her breathe. This woman who'd crashed into his life like a storm, who'd cost him everything and then helped him win it back, who'd looked at his small life and seen something worth being part of. He didn't know where this was going, didn't know if it would work, didn't know if they made sense, but he knew he wanted to try. Adrian went to bed, lay in the dark listening to the radiator clank, thinking about choices and chances and second beginnings. The next morning, Emma woke him up early. "Daddy, Victoria's making breakfast." "What?" Adrian stumbled to the kitchen. Victoria was at the stove attempting pancakes, badly. The kitchen smelled like smoke. "I might have burned the first batch," she said. "I can see that." Emma was setting the table, humming, happy. Adrian made coffee, rescued the pancakes before Victoria could destroy them completely. They ate together, messy and imperfect and good. After breakfast, Victoria had to leave. Work, board meetings, the endless grind of running a company, but she promised to come back. Dinner next week, movie night the week after. Small moments that would build into something bigger. Emma hugged her goodbye. "See you soon." "See you soon," Victoria agreed. She and Adrian stood in the doorway. The moment stretched. "I meant what I said," Victoria told him, "about not being alone anymore. I know. And I mean this too." She kissed his cheek, quick, soft. "Thank you for seeing me. The real me. Thank you for letting me." Victoria left. Adrian watched her walk down the stairs, watched her stop at the bottom, look back, smile. Then she was gone. Emma came to stand beside him. "Do you like her?" "Yeah, baby, I do." "Good, because she likes you too. I can tell." "How?" "She looks at you the way you used to look at Mommy, like you're the best thing ever." Adrian's throat tightened. He pulled Emma close. "You know what?" "What?" "You're the best thing ever," Emma giggled. "I know." They closed the door, went about their day. Breakfast dishes, homework, laundry, the ordinary rhythm of life. But something had changed, shifted. The apartment felt less empty. The future felt less uncertain. Adrian's phone buzzed. Text from Victoria. "Survived the board meeting. They only yelled at me twice. Progress." He smiled. Texted back. "Proud of you. Dinner Friday? I'll bring wine. You provide food that's not burned. Deal." He put the phone down, looked around his small apartment, the crooked bookshelf, the loud radiator, the stars on Emma's ceiling that Claire had hung. It wasn't much, but it was home. And for the first time in 2 years, it felt like it might become something more. Not because Victoria Kane had money or power or could change his circumstances, but because she'd shown up. Because she'd been scared and vulnerable and real. Because she'd looked at his ordinary life and seen something worth staying for. That night, after Emma was asleep, Adrian stood by her door, watched her breathe, made the same promise he made every night. "I'll keep showing up, baby, no matter what. I promise." And he knew, whatever came next, whatever happened with Victoria, whatever challenges they'd face, he'd keep that promise. Because some things were worth more than money or power or perfect plans. Some things were worth fighting for, worth risking everything for. Like a daughter's trust, like a second chance at connection, like choosing to be the kind of person who stopped in a storm, who helped when it cost them, who saw other people's pain and cared enough to ease it. That was the lesson the blizzard had taught. Not that life was fair or easy or predictable, but that showing up mattered, that keeping promises mattered, that being human, flawed and scared and trying anyway, mattered most of all. Adrian closed Emma's door quietly, went to the window, looked out at the city that had tried to bury them and failed, Somewhere out there, Victoria Kane was probably still working, fighting her own battles, building something better. And tomorrow, they'd do it again. Show up. Try. Fail sometimes. Succeed others. Together. It wasn't a perfect ending, but it was real. And that made it worth everything.